people in even rural communities are becoming exposed to ideas of like the LGBTQ. That's the same way people should be exposed to doing modern ways of doing things, future skills. If you have access to the internet and it has influenced your speaking to the point that you're saying one are gonna, right?
Yes.
You can't tell me that there is a reason why that your location should be able to affect your mindset and the things that you have access to. Right. So I grew up in Aba, and the typical jobs for anybody was like teacher, banker, that sort of thing. Those are the jobs that are available there. Oh, that's a bit of a tough question. The most important thing that I have learned, and most especially as a content creator, is that everything is figure outable. Everything can be figured out.
Okay.
So the same way I said that I can write content for a company that sells snakes is the same way I can figure out an app that I have never touched, or I can figure out a market that I have never sold to.
But there's something I've noticed about you, this courage. How do you get that courage? How do you deal with there's this poster syndrome I think I've seen in most people, that people feel I'm not good enough. Right. My story, my background, everything is just, I need to go back to my people. So how do you manage to break through those eyes and then talk to people?
Because you have not been rolling in the Tony Elumelu circle, you might not be able to communicate with people like him when you meet them. It's as simple as research, as far as I'm concerned.
Explain that, please.
It's as simple as doing a little research, watching those people and seeing how they talk, what it is that they are interested in, how, the kind of things that trigger them, what are the conversations that they like to have, right? So if I was to meet Tony Elumelu and I'm so confused, I'm like, what could I possibly talk to this man about? He's a businessman. Very first question I'll probably ask him is,
hi, welcome to the Brand Talk Show with Mr. Nis. I have the biggest brand organizer, brand marketer, anything about ideas. She is the leading expert I've met so far in Lagos. And one good thing about her is that she's so inspiring, so friendly, and open for deals. I've worked with her for a number of months now, and I know that she is one person that is going to change the way you run your business. So help me welcome Chinyere. Welcome to the show.
Hi, my name is Chinyere, and I'm not a brand marketer actually.
Okay.
I'm a content developer.
Okay.
There are lots of aspects to brand marketing, but where people stumble a lot is in the actual communication of what their brand message is, which is what I do. What I do is help people communicate, right? So my company's motto is actually your ideas, our words, perfection. Now, the reason why that is the motto of the company is because people have lots of amazing ideas, but it's not always easy for them to communicate it. So that's what we do. What we do is help you to communicate that to your target audience.
Okay, so I've seen you create a lot of ideas like content online, especially for people's products, and you create things. You're not the owner of the product, but you just get this product and you create something that depicts the perfect look of the product. How do you come up with those inspiring ideas?
Well, research is a very largely overlooked part of developing content, creating a brand, like doing whatever you're doing, really, whether you're selling iron buckets in Area, or or you are selling oil, like as a shell company or something. But basically, research is incredibly important. I've written content for brands that I know nothing about their products. Like I could literally, if a brand says to me that they sell snakes, I could come up with content ideas because research exists, right? You find out about the product, find out what it is, how it relates to people. Every product has an audience, right? Okay. So how does this product relate to any human being at all? Whoever is in that audience demographic, what is it that connects them and the product, right? That's where you get your content from. That's where you communicate from.
Do you leverage AI at any point in your creation?
So there has been a lot of pressure on creatives to work with AI, right? And I have always been a skeptic. I've always been a skeptic when it comes to AI. I don't feel like AI has any soul. So the main part of content creation, content development, content marketing is connecting with people. That's why people call us, because they need someone to communicate their message. And the reason why they're trying to find somebody to communicate their message so that they can connect with those people in their target audience. I do not feel that AI has the ability to do that. Now, that is an unpopular opinion because most of the time when creatives say these things, people are like, oh, you're afraid to lose your job. But for me, that's not it. And I have tried to work with AI to, like, develop a caption or write an article or something, but it's just lifeless. It doesn't have that engaging quality that comes from a human being's experience.
Okay.
So no, I do not leverage AI, unfortunately. I might ask ChatGPT a couple of times when I'm having a block and say, what are some captions you could use for a braiding company in Lagos. ChatGPT might be very smart, but it doesn't know Lagos. It doesn't know Lagos people, right? So whatever it recommends gives me an idea of what to then bring home, bring down to earth, bring down to Lagos, bring down to where we are, bring down to the people who actually need to hear about this. So I've used it like 3 times, but for me, it's not a tool. It's not a tool that I work with.
So, but it's not something you're looking at going to get better tomorrow. Cell phone wasn't that cool when it entered Nigeria back 90s, and now today we're using phone to do wonders. Don't you think that this will also get better?
So the cell phone, in comparison with AI, let's see. So the cell phone enables communication, right? It does something that human beings cannot do. AI cannot do what human beings can do. It can imitate what human beings can do, but that's where it ends. It can imitate it, but without having context, without having the human experience, it cannot communicate it.
Okay. What about using it as a leverage? As it gets better, like images. Now, you may not see every image on stock website, but you can create with AI. You don't feel that one.
So I have tried that. There was a period when I worked with Canva AI to come up with images, but I dumped it really fast because the images were
fake.
They were just not. I'm trying not to sink into the Gen Z type of saying that they were just not giving, right? They'll be sharp, they'll depict what you're saying, but there's just this quality to them that has no, like I said earlier, that has no soul to it, right? So you would have a picture and somebody has like 6-7 fingers, right? And I remember I couldn't find the picture of a lady wearing a pink watch, right? Pink smartwatch. So I used the Canva AI to generate that image, and the watch was like wrapped around the hand. Like, so yeah, AI is great, but it's not perfect, and no matter what happens, it can't be human. It's not human.
Okay, so
it just cannot. It can be interchanged.
Let's see how next 10 years looks like for AI.
Yeah, we'll see.
So where did you grow up, and how did that impact your creativity and marketing skills now?
So this is a very interesting question for me, because I have written an article on how people use location as a crutch. To put it this way, they use their location, like where they grew up, where they are at the moment, as like the anchor to say this is why I'm not where I should be, right? And in that article, I made it very clear that if I wanted to, I could have easily said, because I am from Aba, and I do not have the connections that people in Lagos have, and I do not have the exposure, which is like the key thing that people in Lagos have, I can't possibly become this person. But that is such a ridiculous
excuse.
Yeah, it's such a ridiculous mindset. I think now more than ever, it's a very silly thing to say that where you are is a problem, because if you can watch this video, right, it means that you have access to the internet.
Sure.
If you have access to the internet, your location doesn't matter at all, right? So I started my I was still in school when I started Words on Us. So I was living in Bayelsa, in a small island in Bayelsa, and there was no exposure to any of the things that I was working with, but I had the internet. And just like people in even rural communities are becoming exposed to ideas of like the LGBTQ, that's the same way people should be exposed to ideas about like modern ways of doing things, future skills, and all of those things. So if you have access to the internet and it has influenced your speaking to the point that you're saying one are gonna, right?
Yes.
You can't tell me that there is a reason why that your location should be able to affect your mindset and the things that you have access to. Right. So I grew up in Aba, and the typical jobs for anybody was like teacher, banker, that sort of thing. Those are the jobs that are available there. But to be very honest, I had never ever seen myself in any of those roles. I read books, I watched TV. It was clear to me that there was more than what was around me.
Okay.
Right. And everybody watches TV. Everybody right now is on the internet. I wasn't even at that time, right? So with access to these things, with the things that you see online, it should be clear to anyone that there's more to the world than what is around you.
Okay.
Which is why I say it's completely ridiculous to blame your location for, your inability to get to some things or do some things. So yeah, I'm an Aba girl through and through. Yeah.
And you're proud of it.
Very proud.
Okay, let me take you to this journey. What's the one important thing you've learned in your entire life?
Oh, that's a bit of a tough question. What's the most important thing? The most important thing that I have learned, and most especially as a content creator, is that everything is figure outable. Now that's not correct, but let me just put it simply: everything can be figured out.
Okay.
Right. So the same way I said that I can write content for a company that sells snakes is the same way I can figure out an app that I have never touched, or I can figure out a market that I have never sold to, or I can speak to people that I have never met before, because everything can be figured out.
Okay.
If you say today that, because you have not been rolling in the Tony Elumelu circle, you might not be able to communicate with people like him when you meet them. It's as simple as research, as far as I'm concerned.
Explain that, please.
It's as simple as doing a little research, watching those people and seeing how they talk, what it is that they are interested in, how, the kind of things that trigger them, what are the conversations that they like to have, right? So if I was to meet Tony Elumelu and I'm so confused, I'm like, what could I possibly talk to this man about? He's a businessman. The very first question I'll probably ask him is, where did you get the guts to build a business like this? That's a conversation starter that would definitely work.
Okay.
Right? And to be able to find that out, it would be as simple as watching YouTube videos that involve him. Just look at the interviews that he has done. Right? So the reason why I say everything can be figured out is the fact that all my life I have come across things, and if you're moving forward, you're going to definitely always come across things that you've never seen before. So all my life I have come across things that I have never seen before, and how I have gone past those things to become who I am now is simply by doing my research.
Okay.
Reading the books, watching their content. It's so easy now, right? Before you had to read a bunch of books to learn about some things, but now you can easily Google something, read the articles about them, watch the videos about them, and it. Right? So if there's an aspect to my business, if I'm trying to expand, for instance, and this is an area that I know nothing about, it can be figured out. There are resources out there. There are resources for everything. Yeah. So the biggest lesson that I have learned is that everything can be figured out.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. But there's something I've noticed about you. This courage. See how you mentioned Tony Lumelu. You didn't even mention all these other guys around us. Tony Lumelu, and if I call him on phone now and link him up, I know you can talk to him. How do you get that courage? How do you deal with there's this natural imposter syndrome I think I've seen in most people that came from the area, like Aba. People feel overwhelmed when they see a lot of things, or people feel, what's that word again? I'm not good enough. Right. My story, my background, everything is just, I need to go back to my people. So how do you manage to break through those eyes and then talk to people?
Okay, so there are two aspects to this. The first aspect is that I feel like it's a parenting thing. The way I was raised, there was never really, I never really saw my parents act like, oh, these people are bigger than us, we should avoid them, stay in our corner, that sort of thing. I never saw them do that. And the things that we were exposed to, the books we read, the kind of movies we watched, which is why I will tell anybody any day, don't raise your children watching Nigerian movies.
I swear.
Right. So, yeah, the things I watched, the books I read made it very clear to me that, everybody has a place in this world. So I had this inbuilt mindset of, I'm somebody too, right? There's nobody that is extra special. The underdog can become the president tomorrow, that sort of thing, because based on the books that I read, everyone had a place. So yeah, I feel like it's a parenting thing to start with. And then second is the fact that I've come to learn that everybody eventually is just human. So regardless of your title, whatever you are, what's the worst that could happen, really? Like, what could you possibly do to me?
Just push you out or ask you get out.
Yeah, you push me out of your office and I get over it, right?
How do you get over that kind of feeling?
You do get over it, because if you know, and that's where the first aspect comes in, that you are quite important as well. And I've had this very important feeling from when I had literally nothing.
Okay.
Right? So if you feel like you're an important person, and how do I put this? So like, I've always known that, like, I'm really brilliant, and if somebody talks to me, they're going to gain something. So I always feel like, oh, I
have something to deliver.
Yeah, in a way, I'm doing you a favor, right? You should be so lucky as to hear me talk. So that mindset, when people, because I of course I have had a lot of rejections. So when I get those rejections, I'm like, not that I don't cry over it or feel bad about it, but like, in the end, I'm like, yeah, you're lost. That's how I feel, really. You're lost. You're the one who lost. You know, that's how it makes me feel. Because whenever I'm approaching somebody, whenever I'm approaching like a company or anyone who supposedly might be bigger than me, right? I have something that I want to offer to you.
And you stick on that.
Yes. So it's never really that I'm meeting you so that you will help me. If you're going to meet people with the "you're my helper" mindset, that's when you can feel really bad when they, you know, are not interested in talking to you. But the confidence comes from knowing that me, regardless of the fact that it could probably buy me and everything that I own, I have something that could help you. I have met Tony Olumelu, which is why I probably threw out the name like that. Right. And in my mind, I didn't know I was going to meet him, but in my mind, I already had ideas for like how they could improve. I had ideas for how they could improve their marketing strategy for the WhatsApp bots that they had just created. Yeah, I felt like they were not marketing it properly. They did not have that connection with the Gen Z that they were marketing it to. So when I did meet him, my mind was already like, I can help you. Right? So that was what my mindset was. No, I did not pitch. I didn't get the chance. But yeah, that was what my mindset was. So
you would have done that
typically, if I'm walking into anybody's office, no matter how big the person is, I feel like I have something for you. And personally, I really don't chase after conversations of, please come and help me. Right?
If you don't buy, I would die.
Yeah. It's always like, you are going to lose money if you don't do this, right? I remember walking into Genesis and telling them to connect me to their marketing director because I felt like they were messing up, right? And that's a really huge brand. Huge brand.
Because I'm scared now.
In comparison to the companies that I have worked with. And my mindset going there was like, if you like, don't take the help, but this help that I want to give you, you need it, right? So when I'm walking into places, meeting people with that mindset, it just makes me really confident because I'm not really coming to you because I need something from you. It's because I think I can give you something. So when you feel like you can give people something, it's really easy for you to like just communicate with them. In fact, sometimes I might even look down on somebody that should be looking down on me because I'm thinking, how did you even come up with this nonsense strategy, Seth? And I'm trying to help you. Listen to me, right? So that's honestly how it is.
Tony Olumelu is here with you and inside an elevator. What would you tell him about his business?
So, the WhatsApp bot that was created for UBA, that is supposed to be like this cool Gen Z character that communicates with you about your banking issues, is just pretending to be Gen Z. And it's so obvious, like, that whoever is creating that bot does not identify with Gen Z and is pretending to be Gen Z. So the thing about communicating with people that a lot of people don't understand is that what you don't understand, you can't sell. Right? So regardless of the fact that I have said that I can sell just about anything, I have to understand it first.
Okay.
Like, what is the rationale? Why would people buy this? Why would anybody want this before I can sell it? So if somebody is working on a product for Gen Z and that person thinks Gen Z are ridiculous people, they are strange and they do things anyhow, it will come off in your communication no matter how hard you try. So that's how I feel like that bot is. And what I would tell Mr. Olumelu if I wasn't an elevator with him would be to bring my team in to change how the bot communicates. Because right now it's not selling anything. Yeah, it's not making. I'm not interested in communicating with that bot. I'd rather use the app. So at this point, it's a waste of money to the company. Yeah.
And the other day I went to ShopRite at Aja here at this Shangotedo. Genesis just left there. I think they couldn't sustain that market there too.
I told
and the competition is heavy.
but I told Genesis that they were doing absolutely nothing to stand out. Like they have nothing that would make anyone think like, oh, this is my place. The reason I buy from Genesis is because their food is really good.
Okay.
But people will not know that until they enter.
Say it, yeah.
And the reason why people will enter is because, oh, is this not this brand that I've been seeing online? Let me check it out. That's how life works right now. That's how things work. A lot of the brands we know, we are influenced without knowing it, right? A lot of the brands that we use and we are loyal to, we saw them somewhere, right? And it's not always word of mouth. Sometimes, oh, I've seen these people's ad a lot. So let me check this place out. That's how it works.
So you mean ads also convert well like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you are just posting content, I might write great content, but if there's nobody to see it, it's wasting. So like you have to promote the content. You have to put it out there. You have to get it to a larger audience. But yeah, I told them that exactly that would happen. Not even for that branch, a different branch that I'd rather not talk about. But I told them that would happen because they have a lot of competition in that area. This is Lagos.
This is
There's
Lagos,
competition
man.
everywhere you turn, right?
Okay.
In my industry, there are 1,000 people in Lagos doing the same thing that I do. So I told them that they couldn't possibly continue in the way they were going, which is by, people know us in Port Harcourt, right? That which is what they were living with.
Yes,
People
even in Abuja when I met the
you're
manager.
in Lagos now. Nobody knows you here. We know Chicken Republic. We know the place. We don't know you, right? And I told them they need to like push hard and like really get out there, be in people's faces. Alas, it didn't work out.
Oh, okay. So let me take you to this other one. Tell me about the time and when you started your first business.
Okay, so I've actually been doing business for quite a while. Informally, I officially registered my business in 2019. But way before then, in fact, I've been doing business all my life, right? Started with like helping my parents with their business. As soon as I got into school, before I had gotten a hostel, before I had been to my department, I started writing assignments for students, other students. Like I think the first assignment I wrote was for a 300 level student. Yeah, it's a 300 student in something education. I can't remember the particular course.
You're just entering school.
I had not seen my department. So what happened was that I went to like photocopy stuff in these cyber cafes. There's a lot of them around school. And the person was an Igbo man, so I got really comfortable. I relaxed there. So that was like my anchor point at the time. I would go to do registrations. I'll come back to that place. So it turned out that he always had a lot of work. And he had somebody's assignment to write. And he was trying to write it and trying to attend to customers. So I was like, let me handle that. So I did research. I haven't even told you. The first payment I got for it was bole and fish. That was all I wanted.
Initial payment for the tax.
Yeah, that was my payment. So I did some research about it, and it came really easily to me.
Okay.
And I wrote it, and I ate my bole, and I went home. Yeah, and then from time to time I would come there, and if he had a lot of work and I was free, I would like do the work, write the assignment, and I'll move on. And it was so simple for me. So yeah.
You were making money then?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't a lot of money because I didn't even feel like this is something I should charge for because it was really easy for me. And then after that, when I met when I finally got to my department, we had our first week of classes. After the first week of classes, in order to understand what was in the, what's it called? Course outline. Because for me to understand, I have to write. So I turned it I wrote my own notes. And when I read the notes, I was like, this is really good. So I took it to someone and I printed it. I sold them. I sold them as handouts. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, so that was really in business, right?
Wow. So you're selling your own notes to other people.
I sold my notes.
They were buying?
They bought.
Is it because they were too lazy?
Sold my copy. Yeah. So I was ahead of the class, right? Because I was using the content outline. I use the content outline. I study so that when the lecturer is speaking, I can understand better and have like reasonable questions to ask that will actually help me. So while studying ahead and making my notes, I was summarizing every part of that topic. And it was a really hard topic. So like I was looking at different subjects and when I understood it, that summary I wrote like was very easy to understand. So I was like, people should see this. So that's it. I printed it and sold it.
No more.
Made a bunch of copies.
I told you she's a genius. I know you. So tell me, if someone is starting on this marketing stuff, especially creating content, what do you advise the person to focus on at the beginning?
So if someone is writing content, I'd say if you're not a writer, don't go into it, because people like to think that it's just because it's marketing is a different thing. But if you're not someone who can write, you can't write content.
Can't I learn how to write in doing it?
So I believe, and this is a personal belief, I believe that writing is a talent that you develop, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. I've seen people try to become writers, but if you're not a writer, like from when you were born, if you are not a writer, you are not a writer. However, if you have some writing skill, if you have some writing talent, you can improve it. You can develop it. You can do anything with it, right? But if you don't have it, you don't have it. You can't force it. It will be obvious. I've seen people try it, right? And it shows.
I want to start crying because I want to develop it.
If you're developing it and it's working, then you must have some talent already. You must have some writing talent already.
So how do I know I have this talent?
Do people enjoy your writing? I guess that's somewhere to start. If people enjoy your writing, that means that you are able to communicate through writing. And that's a great place to start. How I knew that I could write was from writing Facebook posts, really. It was from my Facebook. Like I used to I was very vocal about my opinions and all of that. So I used to write a lot on Facebook, say whatever I feel. And the way I put it was so interesting to people that a simple topic would be incredibly interesting to them, that they would talk about it, they would share, people would talk about it for a long time. That's basically how I knew that, I could write.
What if you get attack on that post? How do you handle it now that you're trying to experiment your skill?
So not everyone will agree with you.
Okay.
And I know why you're saying this. So not everyone will agree with you, but it's important to be clear that in some instances, be clear that, this is a personal opinion, right? It's important to make that clear, not say that this is a rule or this is that's one of the mistakes that a lot of churches make, to take their doctrine and make it to seem like a law.
A law, yeah.
Right. So you can share your personal opinion to people without making it seem like this is the standard for life. Right. So if you get attacks on them, you're like, it's my opinion, it's not yours. And it's as simple as that. Yeah.
So if you're to start another venture now or tomorrow morning, what will it be?
So things have really changed from when I went into marketing, which is not that long ago, to be honest. When I say things like that, it sounds like it was 10, 20 years ago, but it wasn't. But yeah, things have changed a lot. And now pictures are more, pictures communicate better, videos communicate better. So if I was to start a venture now, I would probably focus more on pictures and videos. No, actually, I'll focus more on videos than I would on text because people don't read anymore. Now that we have access, so Facebook before was just text. Not a lot of people were uploading videos or pictures because that took a lot of megabytes and not everybody could afford it, right? So if I would start another venture, regardless of the fact that I'm a writer, I would focus more on video.
Okay.
Yeah, to communicate. Because since people have access to lots of videos to watch, they're not reading your long story.
So but now you are creating video and people are looking for comedy. How will you weave in the two to use comedy to communicate a serious business?
Some people are looking for company. That's the best way to put it. But that doesn't mean that everybody's looking for comedy. So there are people that are looking for comedy. There are also people that are looking for dance video. Some businesses have been using dance video to thrive. That doesn't mean everybody should dance.
Okay.
So you need to know your audience, and even more than that, you need to know who your brand is. So before I start working for any brand, I like to identify with that brand as a person. I look at that brand as a person, a human being, an entity on its own, right? And I think to myself, what kind of thing would this brand do? If it was a human being like me, what would it do? Right? So that's how I come up with, okay, so in my agency, we have this thing we work with that we call a brand style guide. Before, when we sign on any brand, before we create even one piece of content for you, we have a brand style guide. Why we have that is let us understand this brand.
Okay.
So not every brand should be selling with comedy, because that may not be who that brand is. I will not sell myself. Like I have like my own products, I have books and stuff. I won't sell it with comedy because that's not who I am.
Okay.
I'm selling to, and it's not like the people I'm talking to don't enjoy comedy. It's just that that's not who I am. So regardless of the fact that you're trying to please an audience, you're trying to reach an audience, you need to figure out who is it that this brand is. Like, what would this brand do? So in that brand style guide, we have what we call tone and voice. In voice, you might see something like sassy and sarcastic. That's what we would write as a brand's voice. That's because that's who that brand is. We have seen that's the kind of as important as it is for a company to be an entity on its own, right? The person who owns the brand still comes into play, because you cannot remove it completely from that person.
Okay.
Right? UBA is very serious because Tony Elumelu is serious.
Serious, yeah.
Right? But there are other banks that are super playful. V Bank is so playful. Like, they're very chill and they reach their audience.
V Bank, I don't even know them.
I've been with V Bank since they actually started, right? And they have a lot of people. And they don't make a lot of noise. Guess who their ambassador is?
Who?
Don Jazzy.
I'm lost.
Since the start. And that's a bank.
It's a serious bank.
It's a very serious bank. They have business accounts and all of that. Like,
I've seen of the branches.
They don't have like it's an.
Okay.
I don't
online.
think they have a physical. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they have a physical branch, right? But they're doing really great because they know who they are and they know who they want to communicate to. And crazy enough, their clients are not only Gen Z. I was surprised to find out that a lot of business owners actually use them for business accounts.
What's cool about them?
Very easy to use. Incredibly easy to use. That's what does it for me, really. The fact that they're very easy to use. Another bank that is like that is Wema Bank. Wema Bank that people used to know before is not the Wema Bank of today. I think someone else took over. I don't know how it works, but right? I think someone else took over. They started Alert by Wema Bank. I've been back here with them since they became Alert by Wema Bank. And their tone is very chill, very like, oh yeah, let's help you, you know. And they're making their sales. They're getting their customers.
Okay.
So you don't have to be who this person is because this is the person who is thriving in that industry. You really just have to understand who you yourself are. So we might write for a different brand. On that voice would say helpful but conservative. Helpful and conservative. And that's like, okay, so this brand is a little serious. They want to help people, but they're a little serious. And then we might have another brand that has helpful, but the way that they communicate that helpfulness is playfully. Right? So it's very important to understand who you are as a brand or who your company is as a brand. Okay. And then you communicate. So whether comedy is getting a lot of likes or not, you need to know what it is that you want to do and focus on it.
So should I shape my business looking at my CEO or towards my audience?
So it's very important to consider your audience, of course. But if you go too far from who your CEO is, it's going to be obvious that you're pretending.
Okay.
Which is why UBA's WhatsApp bot is not working. Because obviously, I guess all these things are going through the CEO, and CEO will be like, this one you're writing, this thing sounds too playful. Right? Yeah,
make it this serious.
Yeah. But that's because that's not who they are. So it's also important to know who it is you are, or else it will be obvious to anybody who is trying to buy from you. Like, you don't feel, there's no authenticity to your voice, to your tone, to your brand communications. And when a brand is not authentic, people know. You might think they don't know. They might not even like be thinking about it and saying, oh, this brand is not authentic, but they know. They just know somehow, and it makes them unable to connect with you. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
What's one question you wish I had asked on this podcast, and what would be your response?
I think the question I usually like to answer is how I juggle things.
Okay, both family and
Right.
okay.
Because that's a very interesting question for me. Because there's a huge misconception that there are some people that have this skill to like juggle everything, or that there's a particular system that you can have that makes you able to juggle things. The fact is that everybody who is successful has learned to take things one step at a time, to take things one day at a time, to prioritize. Okay, this is most important. There's a lot that I also need to do, but let me do this first. And when you're done, you move on to the next thing.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband says some things are important and some things are urgent. Sometimes the thing that is urgent is not as important. Oh, it needs to be done now. It absolutely has to be done now. But will it kill you if I don't do it now? No.
Okay.
Right? So a client could be in my DM saying, I want to see a strategy today. But this strategy is for something that is happening 2 months from now. So chill. Let me get this done first. And if it's going to kill you, give it to someone else. It's simply how things have worked for me. So on some days, I have people in my DMs, I have emails I have not responded to. But what is most important for me on that day is to teach my son how to count, because he's in a good mood, right? And I have to take advantage of that situation and do it. Or I haven't spent time with my husband in a while and I have an opportunity to have some quality time. Everything else that is not important would have to wait.
Wow.
Because sometimes you have to consider the long-term value of some things. If I do this now, what exactly is it going to change? If I do it now or I do tomorrow, like will it change anything?
Okay.
Right? But this quality time that you're trying to spend with your family, you may not get it next week because life is very hectic. So you take your moments when you find them.
Yeah.
But this thing that you want me to review right now, if I don't do it right now, what are the consequences?
Okay.
Those are the things that I consider.
Wow. Yeah. Massive. Okay, my last question is a magic question, and it's about brand talk. Okay. This is our 3rd episode on the podcast and want to drive this really, really hard. What one advice will you give brand talk? Or maybe 2 or 3. Let me don't limit it.
So, I've always said to you that Brand Talk Africa has the potential to be all that. It has the potential to be that brand that everybody knows. You know how this is no longer a popular phrase, right? But there was a time when how you talk about things that are well known is to say that it's a household name, right? But to put it simply, to be just a name that, like, when you mention it, people know what you're talking about, right? Brand Talk Africa has that potential. I think the thing that is missing is intentional content creation, like content that is very intentional, which I think you have started to work on, right?
Not sure.
Creating content that is very intentional, like who am I trying to reach, and what will they enjoy? Okay, what is it that if I put it out there now, they would like to watch it, right? What is it that will keep their attention and make them want to like come and look at this again, right? So that's what I mean when I say intentional content creation. And then to get it to a larger audience, which is to put money into ads, like push it out there, promote it. So I hate it when sometimes I have conversations with clients and I'm like, if you can't run ads this month, there's no point paying us to create content, because all this content we have been creating, nobody is seeing it. You need to get it to a larger audience. You get it to that larger audience, they follow you, they start seeing you. That's the start, right? They've started seeing your content, they've started sharing it to other people. Virality doesn't just happen. You have to get it out there to a larger audience first, not just your family and friends, right? So yeah, personally, for me, for Brand Talk Africa, intentional content creation, then get it out to a larger audience, let people see it. People beyond your Facebook, right? Let them start to see it. That's it for me.
Chai, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your wonderful time. Thank you one more time.